Welcome everyone. First of all, it's great to see so many faces, I guess, albeit on a screen here tonight. One of the things, apart from chatting to Leachy and Bessie tonight, I was looking forward to seeing was some great lockdown haircuts, and certainly haven't disappointed. So well done, everybody. I think one of the things that's great about Leachy and Bessie is when asked to do this, they were, without hesitation, that they're very happy to chat all things spin. So we appreciate that, guys. Before we get underway, as Ben mentioned, wanted to say that anyone's got any questions, I'll be looking at that on the chat. So please feel free to fire through, and I will kind of filter them slightly. But I'll ask Dom and Leachy as we go. Also, want to say big thanks to Somerset County Sports, who are one of our partners at Somerset County Cricket Club, who are sponsoring this vodcast, I think the youngsters call it. So without further ado, let's get on to the main men. Obviously, the burning question that everyone wants to know is, what's it like in the bubble at the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, I think, well, I'll speak for obviously myself and Leachy, but we've obviously just got in. So we had our first training today, which was good. We were both in the first group, so got out of the sun, got out of the heat quite quickly. But as Leachy will probably tell you, he's obviously big dog in it. So he's got a balcony in his room, and I've been put in the kitchen.
Oh dear. I can't lie, I have got balcony, but I think that was more luck than anything else. But the bubble's been interesting, like a little bit weird, I'd say. Almost gone back 10 weeks in terms of how strict everything is in the bubble, and we're all wearing face masks and social distancing and all the rest of it. So it kind of feels like lockdown again, but within a cricket ground. So much better than probably being at home in terms of obviously having the opportunity to play cricket. And I think the lads are very excited about being back out there. Just weird circumstances and something to get used to. Definitely, it kind of feels like we're on tour, except obviously won't be able to have family with us at all. So that'll be a weird one to get used to. But more than anything, just happy to be back playing cricket.
Yeah, obviously it must be quite strange. You're used to kind of being on tour with each other, and the handshake's almost non-existent these days. Is there any kind of team protocols? You go to the Japanese bow, or just a knowing English nod and pass? How does it work?
We've been told that we can foot shake, so I don't know how that works. Really, I've never really wanted to foot shake with anyone, so I'm not sure what's going to happen, to be honest. I'm not sure. Obviously, we're still 2 weeks away from Test match, so things might have changed in the outside world, and then obviously in the bubble that might affect things as well. So got to maybe find some new ways of celebrating, which I'm sure we'll find a way.
Yeah, both of you got good celebration in you as well. I know we won't dwell too much on the bubble, because I know there's all kinds of entertainment in there, from golf simulators to arcade machines, etc. But I'm sure people are far more interested in your cricket. One of the things that I guess is really exciting from a Southwest perspective is, I know Leachy, you're Somerset lad, born and bred, but we have got a few kind of outsiders who have infiltrated into Somerset cricket, Dom being one of them, and the Overtons and Lewis, who are part of that bubble as well. And very remiss of me not to welcome everybody from the Southwest who's joining us on this podcast tonight. I know there's been a great deal of interest, and people have been messaging me questions all day. So welcome everyone, wherever you are. I wanted to get on quite swiftly with both of you and chat an awful lot about spin bowling this afternoon. I know that it'd be very poor anchoring for me not to mention that you're both natural spin bowling vectors of a cricket ball. And in terms of that, where did it all start for you? Where did you start bowling spin? When did you realise, actually, do you know what, I'm not bad at this? And I'm going to leave it for both of you to jump in and answer. And I know both aren't shy and speak.
I'll go first. I think from my sort of certainly early days at Sidmouth, I was probably a little bit bigger than I should have been back in the day. So I just took the short run really and just decided to bowl off spin. And I guess I was always in the nets. I was always down there during the summer, always in nets, bowling, batting, doing everything. And I think more from the early age, it was just playing and getting outside, playing to play every sport is so key just for as youngsters, as young lads. Any sport it's going to help you in the long run. So obviously you're massively into cricket now, but certainly playing your rugby, your football, and just being outdoors in general, I think it's really important. And I guess I sort of knew I was okay. Was probably sort of 15, 16, but I wasn't anything. I don't think. Well, Snelly, you'd certainly agree. I don't think I was anything special. I sort of guess my work rate has, and my work ethic has sort of got me through. And I guess I'm okay now. I wouldn't want to say I'm the $1 million or anything like that, because I still think there's a long way to go.
I released you,
that's mine.
so yeah, I didn't think much of you.
Very true, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the most humble answer I've heard you give, Bessie. You're not usually like that.
No, as if.
Nah,
What about you, Leachy? Same question, Leachy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing me and Bessie are quite similar. Is probably like, it's probably not been a straightforward road, and we kind of worked hard. I'd like to think that we're two of the harder workers. So for me, I was always bowling spin from a young age, and I grew up in Taunton, sort of playing at Taunton Dean and stuff like that, and I had one net session where I had a really shiny ball and I bowled a bit of seam, left arm seam, and I got a few wickets. And I said to my dad on the way home, I was like, I think I'm going to change the bowling seam or swing, and he was like, no, you're not. You're a spin bowler. So got told that that was the best way to go by my dad. And my dad's actually not usually quite so kind of forceful with his opinion, but on that he was very sure, and I'm glad he did, because I wouldn't have been much of a swing bowler. But yeah, so just from a very early age was spin for me, and yeah, I went from there.
So we've got some really good questions actually coming in on the chat, which I'm going to get to in a minute. So please encourage you to keep sending them in. But actually, just on both of your answers, one of the things I've really enjoyed about both of your journey, it's not been a straightforward route to the top. You know, you've both had some obviously great success in your initial forays into Test cricket, but also there's been a lot of tough stuff that you both faced over the years that you've had to overcome, and I'm sure there'll be difficult times ahead. So that kind of Corona coaster, as some people have said during this crisis, certainly applies to both of you, until how you've overcome certain circumstances. And for every person who's just a rocket launch to the top, you guys have certainly kind of had your fair share of difficulties to overcome. And I guess within that, I just wanted to touch on a few questions just while we're here. And one of the I guess very topical questions. It's from Keith Templeton. It says, Jacka and Dom, have you got still harbouring ambitions to play white ball cricket? Obviously, you're in the red ball bubble at the moment. We'll come to you first on that, Leachy.
So just on what you were saying there, I think one thing that has been sort of the case is that we've kind of had our ups have been quite extreme and our downs have been like quite extreme as well, I guess, and sort of like we've had experience of playing Test cricket, and the next week we're playing club cricket and second team cricket, and it's kind of, and that is because we don't actually play the white ball format for Somerset. So timing of how the county season has worked has meant 1 week you're in the Test team, the next week you're kind of battling back at your county, thinking where's my career going. So it's like quite a big extreme, and I think and sometimes it's been one of us is having an up and the other person is having quite a big down, and but I'd say the other thing is that we've been quite lucky as young-ish, I'm not that young anymore, but youngish spinners, is that we got the opportunity to bowl on those spinning wickets, and that's propelled us further and quicker than others. So I think in that way we're quite lucky as well. So I think it's been, there's been some downs, but actually, it's come after some really big ups, and that's what's allowed us to get to where we have been. In terms of white ball cricket, I think me and Bessie are the type of blokes who are definitely going to want to play as much cricket as possible and test ourselves in all formats of cricket. And I kind of think we strive for more and more, and that's kind of hard mentally sometimes for us, because we don't quite get what we want the whole time. But yeah, I think you've just got to keep working hard. We've obviously got Max Waller and Rulo van der Merwe, who are quality one-day T20 bowlers. So, it's not, there's no sort of hard feelings about the fact that we haven't played. It's just, you want to be doing those opportunities to kind of progress your game as much as it and fulfill your potential. I guess as cricketers, we all want to do that. So, but I think for me, I would look back and say it's been a positive thing for me not having played T20 cricket for my longer format game. I think to get those basics good, but then there's a time where you feel like actually I want to sort of put my skills to all formats when you feel those basics are strong. So I definitely want to be playing some sort of form of white ball cricket in the future, definitely.
I'm going to come to you both on that question at some stage tonight. But Leach, I think it's a really pertinent point you mentioned about the basics, and I'm guilty as the next man being a coach. We tend to talk in a lot of coach speak, but as a spin bowler, and you mentioned that not playing T20 cricket had been really beneficial for your game. And again, to throw this open to both of you, what are the basics of spin bowling that are really important? Obviously, you want to take wickets, you want to spin the ball, but what are the core basics of spin bowling?
I think it's a great question, because I think even up to give it 3 hours ago, me and Leachy were sat on his balcony chatting about
social distancing, of course.
Obviously, but we're chatting about what the basics were, and it is a big balcony. And we were chatting about sort of, I guess, our strides into the crease, and then how strong our positions are at the crease. And I mean, even us two now, we're still working on things, still working on the basics. And the basics, I say we both are really thinking is actually how strong can we be at the crease when delivering the ball, because even in the nets today, bowling at some of the best English batters, there's times where we're both still trying to work on our basics. And I think a big thing is we're still probably obviously striving to improve and getting better, but we're still again working on landing. As for me, landing on at the crease with a real strong base. When I talk about base, it's obviously both feet sort of shoulder width apart, and making sure it allows my upper half of my body, my shoulders, to rotate sort of up and over, and little things like that. Even the position of the ball, the seam of the ball. It's little things that we're always talking about, and that's probably the good thing, I guess, having both of us here, is we can chat about it.
I think for me, like, the real core basics would be to get side on at the crease and line up your hips, your feet, your hips, your shoulders, and use your front side to obviously engage your front side to bowl the ball, and obviously getting side on to your target, and then sort of bowl all the way through, and complete your action all the way through. Obviously, we're still massively working on those, and I think it's about having a really strong stop ball. And I think that is, you look at Nathan Lyon, probably the best spinner in the world, or best finger spinner in Test match cricket. I would say his game is based around a really strong off spin delivery, and he can bowl it at a good pace, and I think that pace comes from a strong being able to bowl with good pace and good shape as well and not just darts is like definitely what you're sort of striving for as a spinner, and it's about how you use your body to make that happen. And I just saw a comment saying that Nathan Lyon can't catch there, and I love to see it.
We've got loads of questions coming in, so I'm just going to fire through a few quick fire ones, and I might answer a couple of myself. So, good one from Zephyr Setter. Optimistic in terms of, can you both visit my primary school, Lingford Primary School in Taunton, because his teacher says he's really good at cricket. Zephyr, thanks for your message. I'm not going to say that Bessie and Leachy can do, but we'll definitely write a letter to the club. We'll see what we can do. Leachy's in a bubble, hopefully, for the next few months, so maybe we'll have a look at that in September. Thanks for Bob Andrews, who's been a supporter for 73 years. Loves watching Jack and Dom bowl in tandem. Just a couple of more specific ones in terms of spin bowling. In terms of, there's a few questions about pre-match routine, and I certainly had a note to ask both of you. And I know that I've seen you both work incredibly hard and very diligently, very thoughtfully about your spin bowling. But prior to a match, maybe the day before and on the day of a game, what is the purpose behind your training and then your practice? And I appreciate it might vary game to game, but if you could both give us an insight, maybe we'll start with, doesn't matter who we start with actually, an insight into what you do and why.
Yeah, so for me, I think pre-match routines for me is certainly just all about my confidence and actually the feel of the ball coming out of my hand and just not tick boxing, but making sure I go through certain things, I guess, in terms of my actions. So having a strong side, having a real strong base. I think that's where my philosophy comes, is actually having a real strong base there, and I certainly make sure I go through those routines. I think I'll always I'll never really bowl at a batter before a game. I sort of more do into mitts and.
Bessie, can I ask you why wouldn't you bowl at a batter before a game?
Well, I'm talking morning of, because I think it's all about me and being quite selfish. I'm trying to work on the feel of it, so I'm not bothered about where it sort of lands, if that makes sense. Because if I know I'm feeling good and I've got confidence, I know it will come out where it should be. So for a batter to be down there whacking it, it's just another distraction for me. So that's something I really work on. And I mean, a day before, I'll probably bowl at a couple of batters and challenge myself in that sort of term. But as soon as I've done that, and as soon as I'm happy with that, I will then it'll be very, very much about myself and how it's feeling and coming out. And actually, day before the game, even in the morning of it's 18 hours or so, 12 hours. You've still got to get up, and then the next day make sure your rhythms and you're feeling good. I know that really works for me, and I make sure that I do as much as I can the day before. So when it does come to the morning of, I know I'll do 2 overs over the wicket, 2 overs around the wicket, and then I'm pretty much done, I reckon.
Yeah, so you're making that practice about you and not anybody else who's practicing, and I guess that's one of the things sometimes in team sports. You're trying to facilitate other people's practice, and certainly at the level you're at now, you're actually thinking, well, actually, it's not about that. This is about making sure that I'm ready for this game.
I certainly think as well, you've got to have that. Obviously, you've got to be. Some people might see it selfish, but I think it's your purpose and making sure you're well. And I guess the great thing at Somerset is I'll do our stuff, and Leachy will do his stuff, and then if ever we need anything else or the other lads need anything else, we make sure that then we can help. So if that's the likes of throwing or bowling a little bit more off spin at Leachy, then we'll do that. Or if it's that throwing extra balls while the other coach is away, I think it's really important to sort of differentiate that, but also make sure it's clear. You've got to do yourself. You've got to do what's best for you, and then also you've got to help your teammates out after that.
Nice one. Well, Leachy, same question. What's your kind of pre-match routine, or on the day and the day before?
Yeah, very similar. I'd say is quite a bit of my own stuff, kind of to admit to a cone or whatever, and just trying to get a feel for what I'm trying to do, and again that I don't need a batter there. I think a day out I will bowl at batters, and then probably morning of the game I'll do more on my own sort of thing, and really feel my body working and working the way I want it to work, and knowing that I've done enough against batters that I kind of if my best ball's coming out well, then I'm going to be threatening to the batter. So that's kind of how I go about it. I'm still working on kind of how I best practice and how I can make my practice work for me. I feel like I get by in games, but I sometimes overthink in practice, and actually I want to have practice that makes me think less. So I do some work with the sports psych on that, and I'm still working that out. I'd say, and you always kind of sometimes if you're you're looking for perfection, and if you do that, that's a dangerous thing because you'll never be happy and with where you're at. So it's you want to find a way of gaining confidence before a game and feeling prepared for what's ahead. So you don't want it too easy, you don't want it too hard. It's kind of getting that balance of where you want to be leading into a game.
And just final question on that. So how relaxed or anxious do you get about your practice prior to the game? And obviously there's no right or wrong answer to that, but obviously at various stages, as every cricketer is, you're more confident or less confident with how you're playing. How do you manage those emotions leading up to a game?
Sometimes not very well, really. I'd say you have to let go of, if you've got, you have to trust that you've been in that position before where you don't feel perfect going into a game. It's very rare that you have those spells or when you're batting that, things feel easy. But yeah, you kind of have to just get on with it. I think it's something that I'm still trying to get better at, definitely. And I think that's the real challenge is actually making your practice work for you. And obviously, again, like you talked about that team sport, and obviously you got individuals within that. I think you have to be really strong as an individual to say, this is what I need. And it might, even if it does look quite different from what you might, others might think of as normal practice or whatever. And I think that's something that I'm slowly getting to, is kind of what works for me. And obviously we're playing teams, we're team men, we want to do what we need to do, but you also, all the team wants from you is your best. So it's about trying to give your best and prepare yourself to give your best. And I think my hardest thing is overthinking in practice, and actually rather than just doing and letting it all come out, is I'm thinking, is this right? Do I need to do this? And so that's a challenge, but I think it's also what has got me to this level, is that actually I have been a thinker of the game. So I wouldn't probably have it any other way, but at times it's tough being like that. Okay,
I'm gonna move on because I'm conscious of time. I could talk an awful long time about that, Leach. It's fascinating. I'm going to come to you, Bessie. Great question actually from Tom Manning. Is coaching spin is quite difficult. Did you have someone who was really good at that, or did you learn most of it from yourself? So I'm going to come to you on that first, Bessie.
It's a good question. I think certainly when I was younger, and talking like 10, 11, Charlie Dibble, one of the coaches, when I was playing at Sidmouth, was an off spinner as well, and he'd sort of taught me the basics, I guess, of it. And then I guess certainly as a spinner, being only having one of you or two of you in the side, you've got to do a lot of thinking and you've got to do a lot of working out yourself. And obviously you'll come across other spinners and you'll chat to them. I think personally, I actually think one of my, I guess, where I am now is probably because I was with Leachy at the club, and we'd sort of challenged each other, bowled with each other. Got a great relationship actually now where we can go to each other and chat about it and actually probably challenge each other about it. So I think it's really important that you have a variety of coaches, players that you can go to and chat to. I think Jason Kerr, obviously the head coach, was a really important man, I think, for both of us, in terms of we can go back to him when it's probably not feeling right and just make sure. And I guess it's almost as well a bit of a comfort blanket to go back and work with him and actually have that chat. I know personally for myself, Richard Dawson, who's obviously here now. I spent the winter with him, and I've got a very good relationship with him. So I feel really comfortable with him now in this environment. But again, I think the more we play, the more players, spinners you come across. I think there's always known as the Spinners Union. You'll go and chat to other people and get a real feeling. But also, I'm very fortunate to be where I am, and obviously within the England environment, I've come across some of the world's best now in terms of players and now coaches. And I think, again, it's making sure you can get as much out of people, as much information, stack that information, but then it's about picking what works for you and what you believe in and what you who you feel comfortable with. I know I've got a sort of journal that I will write everything down. If I come across someone and I chat to him, I'll write things down, what he said, and I think that really works for me. And again, I'm an overthinker. I think Leach and I talk about the game a lot, which is amazing. We've certainly chat some rubbish as well in between that, but the things that also do come out are really important. And I guess that's where you get your growth. You get an understanding of what's right and what probably doesn't work for you, and then from you, it's really, you've got to learn how to deal with that and how to sort of improve and get better.
So if I ask that question a bit differently to you, Leachy, thanks, Bessie. So in terms of, you look at influences that have really helped your spin bowling, Leachy, is there any significant advice or technical, not necessarily interventions, but work that you've done with a coach that you've actually thought, you know what, that's made a huge difference to my career as a spin bowler? Or has it more been that finding out in terms of you've just bowled more in different conditions against better players? What can you actually put your finger on anything significant that a coach has help you with?
I think Jason Kerr, for me, probably because he's obviously come from a fast bowling background, so he's more like the base, like the basics of bowling in general. But there's actually a lot of crossovers from spin and seam, and I think one thing seamers talk about is like a split of your front arm and your bowling arm, and I think actually and that's all to do with timing of actually when you're trying to bowl the ball, and I think I used to sort of rise with both together, so then I'd kind of use my front arm on my front side before I'd actually started to bowl the ball. That was for me, that was the timing thing, and Jace gave me that bit of advice, and I think that was something that really helped me. I think obviously a few years ago I had I had some tests done at Loughborough before going on the Lions, and had it came up that there was an issue obviously with the degrees in my arm, and that was a big thing for me to kind of deal with more mentally than anything, was because I'd never sort of been called by an umpire, and never kind of, it was a shock, and I think the way I dealt with that, I'm quite sort of proud of, in terms of I found out what it was, and what it meant, and the more I found out, the more I sort of realised that actually, hopefully, it wouldn't, it wasn't making me a better bowler, and actually, the smoother and the more strong my action was, that would get better, and I would get better at bowling. So actually, the two came hand in hand, and that was obviously, but that is still that was a tough part of my career where, and for a while it sort of takes the enjoyment out of the game, because I've had coaches say, "Oh, just do what feels natural," and actually, what I was doing naturally was not okay. So it kind of leaves you in a bit of a predicament, I guess, and coaches can't use that line with you anymore. So I think I learnt a lot about spin bowling at that point, about a strong spin bowling action, and just kind of working hard every day to keep it as strong as it can be.
I appreciate your honesty on that, Leach. And I know that one of the questions from Finn talks about resilience and how do you work on your resilience as a spin bowler. That both of you have had. We talked about adversity, in lots of different ways. Bessie, for example, I remember you get taken to 79 off 1 over at Bristol against Ian Cobain at one stage.
And the rest.
I think it was nearer 30, but when you're a young spinner, and Leach is, as you've mentioned there, different trials and tribulations. Obviously, it's tough bowling spin because people are trying to whack you, and obviously that creates opportunity to take wickets as well. But you're going to have some tough days as a spin bowler. That's for certain. But obviously, you're going to have some days as well where you don't bowl as well, and you get wickets. And I know from being a wicket keeper myself, when the ball does spin, people start looking at the spinners and think, over to you guys. This is, the seamers are tired, the ball's spinning, this is for you to win. How do you kind of work on that resilience? And then another question that came later on from Lucas, how do you then stay calm when you're under that pressure?
I think, for me, I think, talk about that resilience. Obviously, you've got to have experience of having that, having the down days and stuff. And I certainly believe it now is actually, I think it's not, for me, it's not having an ego. It's not having this anything about you in terms of, you're the best bowler and best spinner and you're going to do it. And because when it does turn like that, there's obviously going to have a massive ego. You're going to have a massive ego dent, and problems, I think, really come from that. Put yourself on a pedestal. Obviously, you can have confidence in your ability, but also to stay humble. And actually, there's so much bigger things in the world as we see right now. Actually, if you have a bad day at the office, it's like anything other, and you try and find the good things that come out. You try and joke about it, and I think that's something that I personally have found hard. But I know being around lads that I've really enjoyed. Actually, it's certainly made me who I am now, I guess. And I think I really, really actually enjoy probably a joke now. If it hasn't gone well, it's actually accepting that and trying to move on, because the good days will come around. And then I think actually that when you talk about when the ball gets chucked to you, for me, and I guess for Leach as well, playing on spinning wickets where we have done, for me, I don't feel worried. I don't feel like I've been put under pressure. It's almost our time to actually show how good we are and thrive off that. And I get really excited when the wickets are spinning and it's down to us. And I think you've got to really just flip the mentality and actually be okay with that pressure.
I'm going to come to you in a second, Leachy, but good point from Sally Pickett, and that hopes that Jack's glasses cloth is displayed in the dressing room at Headingley. I can update you on that, Sally. I think there's going to be a memorial shrine at Vivery Park at some stage next 5 years. I know that's slightly put on hold due to the council's Corona budget at the moment. But in all seriousness, Leach, that was a great time. That's where all the resilience and the hard work and the trials and tribulations pay off. But similar to Dom, how do you cope with that pressure on the biggest stage?
I think once you've done it, a few times, like when I was bowling on those wickets or when we were bowling on those wickets in county cricket, it kind of became, like Bessie said, sort of you look forward to it, and you sort of felt like other spinners who you were playing against weren't used to that, and they kind of were feeling the pressure maybe a little bit more. So I felt comfortable. I think there's been wickets that I played on in Test cricket where fourth innings, it's still a good wicket, and these aren't wickets that are spinning from ball one. They're kind of quite decent wickets, but there's rough. After 5 days, fifth day of a Test match, it's obviously had a lot of wear and tear, and people do, people are still looking to you, and I think that's where you do. They aren't, maybe in Sri Lanka or somewhere like that, they're going to be genuine spin wickets, but sometimes they're still pretty decent surfaces on the centre of the wicket. So it's not going to be straightforward, and it is a different type of wicket that you're trying to bowl them out on. So I think once you've done that a few times in Test cricket, then you'll feel more comfortable with that. And I think it's that feel when you feel you sort of belong in that kind of situation. I think things start to be a lot sort of easier, and I think I'm a little bit off that in Test cricket, but obviously working hard to get more opportunities and learn more, and obviously then try and sort of win some games back end of the games, and on good surfaces, and then that will take my confidence to another level as well. So always learning, and I think it's just sort of staying humble and understanding that it's not always your day. You might have a couple of half chances that if they go your way, it's a totally different day. And I think that's what's so great about cricket, and what is also very frustrating at times. But you have to take the rough with the smooth, and understand that it's not all going to go your way. I think if you feel entitled in the game, then you won't go very far.
Few quick fire questions. So a few quick fire answers coming back from you. So who are your idols growing up? I'm going to come to you, Bessie. Who do you respect and admire growing up?
I think
this is when Bessie starts talking about rugby.
No,
Jack
Leach, the man here. No, I think someone like Graham Swan for me was obviously a big. I always watched him grow up. Trez. I think just being around the region we are, and him obviously playing for England, I think he was really important. They're my two, I guess.
Leachy? Same.
Trez. I wrote him a letter when I was 9 or 10 asking for his advice, and he wrote me one back actually, and he said he thought it was, I spoke to him about it a few years ago when we were sharing dressing room, and obviously my idol, and I said, I think you wrote me a letter back, and he was like, no, I think my agent probably wrote that. And I showed him it, and he was like, that's actually my handwriting, I must have chosen to write it back to you. So that was quite special that he made the effort, but his spelling and punctuation is terrible.
I hope you've still got that letter somewhere. That
I have. It's laminated.
Nice. So, okay, in terms of few more quick fire questions. Leachy, how did it feel to win that Headingley Test match out in the middle with Ben Stokes?
Oh God, best feeling. Best feeling I've probably ever had on the cricket field. Best feeling I've ever had. I haven't got any kids, so I'm sure that's a good feeling. But
hope your girlfriend Lucy is watching.
Yeah. Unbelievable day. The atmosphere was incredible. And I was, it was just, I couldn't believe that I was out there. Stokes, what a
man. Bessie, in terms of FIFA against South Africa?
Yeah, that's certainly up there. That probably is it. I think just my Test debut in general, getting the cap, I think was a real like, I guess I couldn't believe it, what had happened. Obviously, the man himself got injured somehow, and I burgled that test match, which was again a massive moment, really real special to me. Yeah, the 5-wicket haul was obviously really, I guess, really important, but it gave me a bit of belief, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, like both of you have had your, success. We said successes and adversity. In terms of one of the intriguing aspects about, the not just your relationship, but spin in general. If you look at how well you guys interact, and I've seen it firsthand when you both played international cricket and you're playing in a second 11 game together, you're still chatting about spin. You're trying to hit a tea towel in the middle of a pitch, and there's that desire to get better. Do you think that relationship between the two of you has been, and I mean professional relationship, not necessarily just personal, has that been really helpful in driving both of yourselves forward? Because there is that element of competition between each other, but there's also that teamship, that you're both obviously awesome bowlers and you're helping Somerset win matches. And then that third bit, it seems to be propelling you both to greater stages in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we wouldn't both be where we are if we weren't sort of pushing each other as much as we do. I think like I was sort of a bit older when I came into the Somerset team. We used to have overseas spinners, and George Dock was around, and I took a longer to develop, and obviously Bessie came on the scene at a very young age and just tore it up from the start. So it's been great working relationship. Obviously we're great mates off the field as well, and we do probably chat a lot of spin, but we also are there for each other just as good mates as well. And I think it takes a bit of time to sort of like get to that point as well. I think actually it's not the easiest thing at times. It's like one of you's doing great and the other one's struggling, or so actually I think having both been through ups and downs now, we kind of know that we're both good bowlers, and we know that we're both trying our best, and we can both help each other lots, and whoever plays for England or plays for Somerset or whatever it is, it's like I think we'll be big enough and to say well done to that person, and genuinely be happy for that person doing well, and I think we've probably matured with like over that, from both having ups and downs at the top level, I think we've both been very on sort of similar journeys, so we kind of probably no one understands as well as each other what we've been through, so that's quite a special relationship to have.
Yeah, I think one of the big things as well with that is actually, I guess the end of last year, the start of when we were on tour, we sort of said to each other as well, and and this is something that I always really remember, is actually we want to also have fun as well doing it together as well, and actually even bowling against each other, challenging each other, having a bit of fun, because actually at the end of the day we're very fortunate to do what we do, and we've been to a lot of good places together, and we've had a lot of good experiences together, and also I think the real key thing is actually enjoying it together as well. And again, I think it's only got us better, but made us also stronger as a professional duo. If we are playing together, and then also off the field, we can talk, have a beer, have a drink over it, and actually talk about sort of the good times we've had.
No, appreciate that, the honest answers to that, guys, and it says a lot about both of you in terms of how you're making the most of that opportunity to share information, but also forge lasting relationship. It's awesome to hear. I'm gonna move on. A few more questions. So, great question from Henry Porter. It talks about how we adjust to play in empty grounds, and I know already there's some celebrations being planned from the boys about putting on stethoscopes and glasses in tribute to the NHS when they take wickets, and all sorts of celebrations planned. But in all seriousness, well, what's that going to be like, playing in front of nobody, but when everybody's watching?
I think it'll be all right, actually. I think it'll be like playing at Taunton Vale, but with a couple more stands. to be honest, we're pretty used to that.
We'll just ship Rob Hake in, and then it'll be like normal that he's the groundsman
Exactly.
at Tottenham.
Simon Lee, Rob Ake. Hopefully it will spin, so both of us will play. No, I think on a serious note, I think for some of the big players, I think for the Stokes and Butlers, it might be quite strange. But I'll speak for myself. I think it'll be quite nice to play and actually really focus on that. And yeah, there's the cameras there, but you obviously don't see the fans behind it. For me, I don't think it will really change. Obviously, you're playing for England. You've got the kit on. You wear the cap. I think you'll certainly know it's still a test match with the quality going around. It's obviously going to be a little bit different, and it's a shame that people can't watch live sport. But again, I think we're both in a very fortunate position. Actually, we're playing cricket because very few people are, and we're hopefully putting on the England shirt.
There's certainly a lot of people banging down the door at the moment. Recreational cricket, absolutely gagging for a game. Twitter's absolutely blowing up at the moment, which I can understand. What do you think, Leachy? What's it going to be like?
Yeah, I think I obviously got a balcony and that we talked about.
You'll be on it like that.
I went out on my balcony and it was like really quiet, and you think that's what it's going to be like when we're actually playing. And I think it will be. I think it will be tough. I think obviously the fans, like you sort of realise, I've realised from watching the football, is that like that high quality sort of sport, how much the fans make it really. Even if you're watching on TV, I think the drama of it comes from that audience, and that will be different. And I think back to Headingley, and I think imagine that in front of no one, and it would not be anywhere, like it wouldn't be anywhere near the same. And would it have happened because actually the crowd was such an important part of us sort of turning the momentum, or we sort of Stokes hit a few shots, and then
no, let's not underplay your role here.
Yeah, my role came towards the end with that little one, but Stokes, when he started hitting a few shots, the crowd, you just felt this change of how people, and they still believed, and that made us still believe, so I think it's a shame that obviously we can't have crowds, and it will be different, but it's great that we're getting cricket back, and so it's just one of those you've got to sort of take on for now, but as soon as we can get crowds in, I think it's what makes sport. So yeah.
So have you been watching the Premier League football with the crowd noise on or off, Leachy?
See, I had it off last night watching my team Liverpool, and it was like watching my mates on a Sunday down at the park. Like, obviously they're a lot better, but I think it's a weird thing, and I just don't know how it's going to work in cricket with fake crowd noise, because usually it's like a murmur, and then there'll be a boundary, obviously there'll be a clap, and then the umpire's hat will go flying off because it's windy, and everyone will go, "Whee!" It's like, will that happen? Are there going to be someone clicking on a button? But I don't know how it's going to work. But they'll obviously, the stump mics will be on, so they'll be able to hear absolutely everything that we're saying. So we need to keep our language clean.
This will probably be turned off now.
Well, just on that, I mean, Francesca asked a question actually on that regarding how do you deal with the trash talk. Obviously, with Test cricket these days, the stump microphones are on, and it's not like club cricket where people are just downright giving you both barrels left, right. So how do you guys deal with that kind of the sledging or the trash talk, and also, are you giving any back yourself out in the middle?
Not when I'm batting.
I think, I was going to say, I don't think many people want to talk to me. So
you'll talk to anyone though, Betty. There's not enough time in the day. We're struggling to get 90 overs in Test cricket anyway.
That's what I mean. I think bowling is a little bit different, but batting, no one's interested. I don't reckon. I reckon everyone will be chatting to Leachy now about his one red.
Well,
No,
sorry, Nat. One of the things I
well,
was going to say, I've asked a question. I haven't given you the time to answer it. But one of the things regarding your batting, both of you, obviously, I've seen you've worked really hard and diligently regarding your batting, and obviously, actually, I think Leachy, we had a private conversation a couple of months ago that think about when you started in professional cricket. You were a genuine number 11. I don't mean that harshly. Whereas now you're in a position where you could, fulfill any number of roles across professional cricket. And been really successful. So, what advice would you give to young players, young bowlers, about working on their batting? And also, can you talk about how that's contributed to some of the matches that you've played in?
Yeah, I think obviously that's one of the great things about cricket is that all 11 have to bat. So I think it's really important to understand what your role could be in the team with the bat, and even if you are batting at 11, you are potentially going to be trying to draw some games at the end, or you're going to be trying to stay around with someone. And it's probably my best moments in cricket have been with the bat at the end of games. I remember me and Timmy G against Surrey knocking off 60 or something, and then we had, obviously I had that one at Headingley. There's been some great moments, and I think it's cricket. Everyone loves those games going down, like when Monty and Jimmy drew that game in the Ashes, and those kind of things that people remember. And I think it is something great about a number 11 sort of who isn't very technically good, but it's all fight, and it's all about watching the ball and ducking and weaving and blocking. And so even if that's going to be a role, like it is still an important role that can every now and then be crucial to a game and someone's season. So I think that, and I think it's just important to try and offer as much as you can as a spinner, or as anyone is like, it's another string to your bow that can maybe get you in a team ahead of someone else. I still believe like the best spinner will play, and if you can, but then it's about you actually doing the hard yards for the team with the bat, and actually saying, I'm going to try my best and make the most out of my batting. So then if I am with Ben Stokes, for example, that I can stick around with him and let him do his thing.
Yeah, definitely. Best thing come to you in a second, and obviously Leachy, that diligence and that practice and resulted in some almost test winning innings for England. We talked about that one not out, but you had to, the serious pace attack that Australia had, you had to play superbly to stay in there. And we're probably not going to go into the depth of you throwing away 100 against Ireland.
Absolutely jibbed it. hate to get yourself on the board, didn't you? You didn't want it.
But again, the yin and yang of cricket. If somebody have offered you a Test match 90 odd, it's stuff of I'm sure you'd have been very happy with that. And then you get so close, and then the disappointment of not getting on that honours board as a batter when you were so close, which would have been incredible.
I was going to say, Nat, to be fair, at least you got the second team 100 at the county ground. That must have been a highlight.
Yeah, that's another good point. My only 100 in any form of cricket is a second team 100. Snelly, you watched it, mate. How good?
One of the things about cricket, which I love, is for a long time after that innings against Notts, I think he scored 127 at the county ground. You were absolutely buzzing. Where actually now you're reflecting that you're disappointed not to be on the honours board as a Test match batter. That's just getting 100, and that's how ridiculous cricket is.
Exactly, and I think it's how we work is we always sort of expect more. And actually, if you think back to when you were a kid and you said, I would have done this, this and this, like everything else is really a bonus from here. So it's kind of reminding yourself of where you've come from. And I think obviously that 92, I was to be honest, at the time I was buzzing with it because it put us in a position where we could maybe. Well, I thought after I got out that people would push on and we get a huge score, and no one did. So actually, I got man of the match in it. Yeah, I think as I sort of drove home the next day, I sort of thought 8 runs, like, what? Why couldn't you do that? Like, but yeah, I'd be honest, like, nervous 90s is definitely a thing, and you start thinking, oh, I'm 2 shots away, like, let's get this done quickly, rather than just sticking to what you've been doing. And yeah, I think it's definitely a learning, and yeah, it's disappointing, but I mean, again, it's not, how am I saying it's disappointing to get 92 at Lords? Like, I should not be saying that, but people always want a little bit more, don't they? And that's life, I guess, not just cricket. And I guess it's about staying humble and saying, I'll take that and move on.
Yeah, Bessie Sim and I watched your innings against Pakistan on debut. I think it was second innings. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you chucked away a bigger score then as well, didn't you? Big waft outside the stump for 50 odd.
Yeah, just.
But in all seriousness, played brilliantly, didn't you, on debut? Or it might be second game. Can't remember. Debut, wasn't it?
Yeah, debut, second innings. But again, to say again, like I said, if you said to me, oh, I'll get 50 for England and get almost put on a score with Joss Buttler, put on a century stand together, and like I'd bite your hand off. If I knew Leachy was going to get 92, I would have probably dug in a little bit more and tried to get a bigger one. Say he's got a better score than me, so he's always got one over me now. So
you got plenty of time, both of you, to
hopefully.
But
I mean, yeah,
the CBs.
For me, I think again, like, it was amazing experience, and I wish I could take it in a little bit more. I guess I was probably more disappointed because I wanted to do more, but like Leachy said, that's life. That, in fact, looking back now, I'm very proud of what I did that day.
Got a couple more questions because we've only got 10 minutes or so. Because I appreciate Leachy wants to see if Liverpool are going to win the title tonight as well, which is a possibility. So I'm going to just smash a few more questions quickly. So kind of yes or no questions. Have you been watching the Swiss club cricket on Premier Sports? Anyone?
Yes.
You weren't in the test bubble at the moment. Would you be keen for a bit of a go on that?
Well, after you mentioned it, I did have a look, and it was quite entertaining, I have to say.
How have you guys been keeping fit during lockdown? What's been the fitness regime? I know that obviously the professional coaching staff have been furloughed, so you've been left to your own devices. How have you been going about it?
Running a lot.
I'd second that.
We're feeling in good shape going into the bubble with England?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all running really well. Like, actually, probably we're missing that competitive edge during lockdown and playing cricket, and so actually our fitness has been a good way to do that. And so yeah, the lads have sort of been keeping each other going. We both got a assault bike in, which is the worst machine ever, at our houses. So you can do lots of sessions on that, and yeah, I feel fit, and Bessie is even fitter by his time. So yeah, we're in good place.
Cool. Good question from Fred. I don't know if this is even possible, Leachy, if you're on your iPhone or not, but what's the view like from your balcony? I don't know if you can show us and take us on a bit of a tour. Bess, we won't ask you because we know you're in the broom cupboard.
In the basement.
One of the youngsters.
Shock. There we go.
There we go. Leachy's going to give us a look at the Rose Bowl. So
Rose Bowl.
Any youngsters watching, or even oldies, that's what
it's not like. The county ground, is it?
It's not the county ground, but it's not bad.
Yeah,
it's better than my view.
Thanks for that, Leachy. Bessie, while we've got your attention, what do you think a world-class spinner is going to look like in 5 to 10 years' time with the game changing so quickly?
Good question. If I knew, I'd start practicing it now. I think got to be fit, got to be able to, obviously. I think it's going to be, honestly, I would not be surprised if in 5 years someone will be able to bowl left arm off spin, left arm right arm off spin, everything. I genuinely see that happening, and if that comes around, it's going to be quite challenging, I reckon.
I'm going to ask a different question, Leachy, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this as well, Bessie. So I want you to answer this too. What are your variations? And I know obviously Shy Hope might be tuning in to this podcast. I know that West Indies analysts could be all over this, so let's not give away too many trade secrets. But what are your variations as spin bowlers? Obviously there's been some bowlers throughout history have got the doozer, have got alternative balls to bowl. What about for yourselves? What's in the armoury?
For me, I've got an arm ball that I've been practicing, and I'd say it's still a work in progress. And then I've got, I think actually it's more for me would be subtle changes on the crease, on closer to the stumps and coming back and subtle changes. So that would be for me. And I thought of something else then. Changes of like pace and that kind of thing. But Bessie's probably a man for variations.
I think it's an important point you make there, Leachy. Sorry, Bessie, to interrupt, but variation, we quite often associate that with mystery. But actually, variation is changing your angle, changing your pace. So it could be, even if you're left arm round the wicket, you could be left arm round the wicket tight to the stumps, or left arm round the wicket wide of the crease, but still bowling the same ball and trying to create deception through angle. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. And I think whilst what we said about basics earlier on is actually like trying to do the real simple things well is sometimes the best players in Test cricket. And I think if I bowl, especially if it's spinning, actually I don't feel like I need too much big variation. I just need to be subtle with my variation to get draw a batter into playing a ball that's wider, or and that will be just to do with where I release from on the crease and what angle I'm using to play with the batter. So don't feel like if you are bowling spin that you need to have like lots of different variations. Again, like I've gone down the approach of like I'm going to try and get my stock ball, my best ball, as good as possible, and then bowl it from different places, and bowl it at different speeds rather than have 5 different balls and try and be amazing at all of them.
And that's probably thinking, Leachy, sorry to interrupt. Am I right in thinking when you're bowling that ball at different speeds, in terms of, so whether that's a 40-mile-an-hour ball or a 50-mile-an-hour ball, your arm speed as you release the ball, as it comes over, is still the same each time?
Yeah, I think for me it's more about so my front side, like if I go out, then it'll be slower, whereas if I like come in and like almost like a seamer, like snap harder, then I'll get more pace on the ball. But yeah, I'd say the action should look quite similar in terms of to the batter. Is actually I think something Murali Kartik did really well when he was during his career, and obviously he played at Somerset, was he almost bowled with a quick action, but the ball came out slower, but it had lots of revs on it. And I guess that's the thing, is you don't want the speed that you bowl at to change how much shape and energy you put on the ball. So always trying to spin the ball hard, but how can you do that at different paces?
No, nice. And the reason I mention that is obviously the deception. Obviously, if the batter can see that your arm is coming over slower to bowl a slower ball, it's easier for him to read that. Absolutely. Yeah. So, Bessie, similar question in terms of variations, in terms of what the variations that you look to use, and how do you kind of adapt those successfully?
So I reckon at the start I was probably trying to bowl every sort of ball that I could. So a flicker out the front, so sort of literally flicking it off my middle finger, getting rotations obviously going the other way. Really hard ball, and I was trying to perfect that. And I probably actually had to go the other way. I was trying to bowl these variations, and I probably now certainly agree with what Leachy says, and actually bowling my best ball, but from different areas. I know I drop my bowling arm lower. So instead of it being there, I drop it wider, just a different angle. I'd still stay on the same crease, but it comes from a different position. I've got an arm ball. In white ball cricket, or the cricket I've played, I've sort of got a back spinner that I roll my thumb underneath it, and again, sort of have tried the flicker as well, but again, they're still very much work in progress. Like I said, it's actually really hard to do all 5 things really well. If you did all 5 things really well, you'd probably be the best in the world, because of how hard it is. I think bowling your best ball over and over again is hard enough. So I've certainly gone down the other route in terms of genuinely believing that my best ball is good enough. And if I change the crease, change probably the depth in where I bowl it on the crease, it has the slight difference, I guess. And natural variation also takes over massively.
And that's the thing in T20 cricket, actually, variation is like the best thing of like where you're actually landing the ball. And if you bowl 6 balls on the spot like you do in Test cricket, and each one gets patted back, like in T20 cricket, you're probably going for 36. So you need to obviously, so if you're playing a lot of T20 cricket, then that's probably very different. That you give a very different answer, and variation would be much more important. I think also if you bowl leg spin, again, like that might be where you need to have a googly, like, just because leg spinners in general probably have less control. So you're probably, if you're playing a leg spinner, you want to have someone who's going to be a wicket taker and make things happen a little bit quicker. So it depends what sort of spinner you are, and what format of cricket you're playing, I'd say.
Appreciate time's ticking on. I know I can see Joe Skinner on this call. I know it's getting past his bedtime as well. So appreciate. I've got one more question on spin bowling, and I last question is going to be about any advice you'd give to any young spin bowler. But the one more question I want to talk about, and I know we've kind of just gone around the houses a bit because I'm kind of trying to incorporate everybody's questions. But the run up in spin bowling, can you both just give a little bit of insight into how important the run-up is to spin bowling and how you can use that to your advantage? Because if you look at spinners, some guys have got really long, speedy run-ups, others are very slow gather. We look at Shane Warner's example, hardly had a run-up at all. I'd be really interested in your insights in terms of how you use your run-up effectively.
I think my genuine belief of run-up is all it's got to do is allow you to have momentum. So when you get to the crease, you can deliver the ball at the best pace possibly, and actually allowing you to have that bound, I guess, into the crease, and that momentum to then for you to deliver the ball. So that's my genuine belief. If that means that you've got to jog in and get that momentum going, that's probably best for you. If it's walking in like me and making sure that actually my rhythm is probably a little bit slower in terms of my feel and how it feels, and then I can slowly, not by running, but slowly sort of gather and get a real good base at the crease. I think it's really important, and I think it's actually really open. Leach's is a little bit different to mine. I know, say, Matt Parkinson here, he sort of jogs in and probably a little bit quicker. So, and I know Amal Verdi again is sort of bounds in as well. So it's all very different. It's all very relative to yourself and what feels comfortable.
Yeah, same question, Leachy.
It's something that I've definitely asked myself a lot of questions on, is about run up and what the best way of doing it is. I don't probably is what is natural, but if something becomes a habit, then it becomes natural. And so I think for me, I sort of battle with that a little bit. I would love to have a more of a running, kind of more momentum in it. But I know if I do that now, that actually then I don't have time to sort of set myself at the crease and bowl. So actually that's again probably me striving for something that isn't actually for me. I think giving myself that time to build up the momentum gradually, and then still be able to sort of snap and be like, I have that snap at the crease, and set your base like Bessie talks about, be balanced, not overstride. These are the things for me that are important to having a real, I guess, positive run up that adds to my action at the crease. Sometimes I feel I bowl better from 2 strides than I do from my full run up, and that's something to definitely kind of keep working on and keep feeling that rhythm from my full run up. And I think it's something that people probably tinker with throughout their career, and it's just about adding momentum, I guess, but I'm open to suggestions from anyone on that. So if anyone wants to let me know what they think, that'd be great.
Well, please send your opinions into the county ground. Absolutely, let's avalanche Jack with some opinions on his run up. So as I mentioned, guys, in terms of just finally, because we talked a lot about different topics tonight, including resilience, loss of form. We've talked about your highlights, talked about the mechanics of spin bowling, and your batting, of course, which I know you both love chatting about, among numerous other things. But if you were to offer any advice, you've got loads of young people on the call, and some not so young, but not to say that their spinning days aren't behind them. But what advice would you offer to any spinners on this call, and just in terms of not necessarily relating it to playing professional cricket, but just bowling spin in any environment?
Bessie?
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to go, but I think for me, I think you've got to enjoy it. I think something I've certainly learned is actually, if you enjoy it with your mates, you have so much more fun, and you'll probably do a lot better. And I know that's so cliche, and I know probably your parents tell you to do that, but it is true. You probably won't remember some of the stuff you've done, but the most stuff you do is probably the funny times you've had in the field with your mates, and actually coming to bowling, especially being a spinner, getting whacked, because you're going to have those days that people are going to get hold of you. It's again just try and enjoy it, try and actually know it's okay. And again, you're going to get hit sometimes, and I guess if you find a way to cope with that by enjoying it and actually just accepting it, and sort of looking at actually you're with your best mates playing a game that you love, you'll probably come through that a lot better, and you'll probably do a lot better in general.
Yeah, same question, Leach. Yeah, any advice, and even if it's the same as Bessie's, it's be good to hear what you think.
I think mine would be around sort of the people that you work with, and obviously you get given a lot of information, and I think listen to all of it, and then actually try and think for yourself about whether that's something that will work for you, and be strong with that. Like, just because you're working with someone that might be very qualified to do so, that doesn't mean that will be right for you. And as long as you have a reason, and you can, I think that's where some of the best conversations happen in sort of a cricketing environment is when there's someone's not sure about something, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Say why is that going to be good for me? Like, understand it, like really find out why. Don't just do things and think, is this right for me, or am I doing it right? Like, be inquisitive and get the most out of your coaches, because if they're a good coach, they'll enjoy that interaction. And Snelly, you definitely would enjoy that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
So I think just think, like, take everything on board, and also think for yourself within that, and think about the sort of player you want to be, and just make sure you do that. I think that's something that I'm still getting better at personally, and I think it's really important.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for tonight. But Leachy and Bessie, thanks so much for your openness and the honest reflections and what you've shared with everyone tonight, because it's very easy to give a nondescript answer at times, but you've shared so much with people, and certainly a lot of people on here wishing you both good luck for the upcoming test matches. But for everyone in the Southwest and at Somerset, actually, we're all very clear that, you know, what you do for England doesn't define you in terms of your interaction and generally with your fans and supporters. And Somerset, of course, you know, is really appreciated. So we wish you well, however it goes. But I want to say a big thank you for taking the time tonight, which without hesitation you agreed to do. And you know, we hopefully won't see you both too soon. You'll be confined to the bubble for a little while yet. But all the best. And again, big thanks to Somerset County Sports for, you know, partnering with us on this podcast. And hopefully we'll have a few more of these before we're out and about playing. But thanks for everyone for joining us tonight, and thanks for the really thoughtful and insightful questions. And we'll all see you soon. Thanks again, Leach and Bessie.
Yeah, can I just say
guys.
thank you to everyone, and hope you're all safe. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the cricket ground again soon. And yeah, say hi when you see us.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bessie. Thanks, Leachy.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.